What are your thoughts on wrestlers using steroids?
Well, I'm one of those kind of guys that, like, marijuana's the big thing now, like legalizing marijuana. I always say, it's your body, you choose to put into it what you want. So I don't really have a view on it. I've never touched them, never done anything like that. I was always just a naturally bigger guy. I always got by just on my talent. I never really had to do anything like that. But, they'll let you drink a case of beer till your liver dies. They'll let you smoke a pack of cigarettes a day till you get lung cancer.
They'll let you tan until you get skin cancer.
Yeah, so I mean, where do you draw the line? If a guy wants to take something to make him feel better, look better, perform better, why not? Look at Viagra.
Yeah, that's
same thing. It's a performance enhancer. So I mean, coffee is.
Yeah.
Like, where do you draw the line? And now marijuana's big in the States, like legalizing it. Colorado's making a killing on it. So now everyone's like, oh, we should legalize marijuana. You know what I mean?
But my situation was different. I never had those kind of problems. I mean, we had things. We had steroid issues, and all that was a big scandal one time too, right?
Yeah.
But that was a big deal. A lot of things, and a lot of stuff happens in this business, and you have to kind of roll with the flow and deal with it and see where it brings you. But all of it pretty much was weathered, right? And it just went on, and it all got worked out some sort of way or another. I don't know the particulars about if there were any legalities or how severe the legalities were, nor the ramifications.
We would go to towns, and instead of going to the hotel to go get your room, people would wait. We go to the lobby to see what Federal Express package came in. Piper, me, there'd be a lineup. Junkyard Dog, Adrian Adonis. What came in, what drug came in, what Federal Express package came in of drugs sent from Dr. Zohorian's office, from Dr. Zohorian.
Steroids too, I guess.
Oh, steroids up you have big time. And there was like little kids happy. We didn't care about making 10, 14,000 a week. We got that. We were all by that time drug addicts. That's why I said Vince was a pimp and we were the prostitutes, because without the prostitutes work with the pimp for the drugs. They don't care about the money no more.
But how did it work with Zohorian? Obviously, I guess he was based in Hershey. So were you in a room alone, or was there a big lineup with him at a desk? Like, what was the protocol for requesting the drugs from him?
In Hershey, Pennsylvania?
Yes.
Oh my God, what a joke. There would be a line, and there would not only be a line, you're wrestling probably 3 shows a night. Whoever wasn't on that card had a list you had to pick up too. So there was a line that went around the corner, probably 20, 25 deep, to get into Zohorian's office. He's supposed to be checking your blood pressure, and seeing you're ready, right? He's the commissioner and all that.
Yeah.
And instead, he's selling drugs there, but he had this huge suitcase.
So I got hired.
I see.
Yep.
Were they still doing steroid testing at that time, or was that during the time where they dropped it?
They probably dropped it then, which is again, and again, I don't want to sound too ridiculous, but I'm actually a steroid advocate. I've never met anybody in my life who took steroids and died from them. People always say they do. They bring up Lyle Alzado, they bring up those people. If you watch Bigger, Stronger, Faster, there's never been any extensive steroid testing of side effects or results or any damage from them, because it's a class 3, I believe, controlled substance, and they can't really have a medical test in that. And I'm from the mindset that as long as cigarettes are legitimate and alcohol is legitimate and a bunch of other stuff, I don't see how you can stop an athlete from taking something to give him an edge to train harder, to train smarter, to train more efficiently. Medicine's advanced, nutrition's advanced, training techniques advanced, all of it's advanced. Tanning has advanced. I mean, LASIK. If you're a golfer and you get LASIK, is that cheating? Is that a competitive edge? If you're taking uppers or speed or downers to get a mental clarity, if you're in a whatever you need. Is that an edge? So I never understood, especially in wrestling, it's a performance enhancing drug. What performance are you enhancing? I never understood that, right? Because it's predetermined.
Yeah.
Did the cast of 300 get to look that way because it took chicken breast and put self tanner on? No.
Yeah.
They obviously busted their asses. So if we stood in front of Walmart today and gave 100 different kits of whatever somebody had out to them, every single one of those people is going to get a different result.
Yeah.
I just always thought that, God, you can go to hormone replacement clinics now. You can go to 25 Again or Total Future Hope and Wellness, and you get testosterone therapy.
I did steroids. I did them. I did a lot of them. We had access to them every day, whether it be from somewhere in a gym or go to Mexico to get them, or bring them back from England, or bring them back from Germany when we were overseas. Or we had doctors. There was a Canadian doctor that gave them to us in Canada, multiple dosages. It was why he's not in prison, I do not know. There was at least, let me count, at least 8 or 10 doctors across America that were giving them to us. But at that point, now I'm going back to a time where the doctors could prescribe them to us. But I mean, even today, doctors can prescribe steroids to people. There is steroid treatment. My mother was given steroids for cancer treatment. She was given this stuff called Decadurabolin, which I was buying for $10 a bottle, and her cancer doctor was charging her $60 a bottle. Now this is 30 years ago. I mean, I said, Mom, it's the same stuff. I can give you the shot myself. She believed in her doctor as opposed to, well, she's not around anymore. But there again, we took them. I did. Is it as prevalent today? I think it's not so much in the open today. We were pretty much open about it. In fact, we were so open about it that at one time they had a meeting with us and says, look, fellas, we got to clean this thing up. You've got to stop leaving your syringes laying around. Because guys, what guys would do, they don't have very many of these anymore. The old toilets, where you take the top off, the guys would drop the syringes down in there. Now, unless the maintenance man had to come in and perform some maintenance, there might be some needles laying around in those toilets somewhere in America today. But they said, you got to stop doing that. We're getting trouble from the buildings, and it's a health issue now, and we just can't have it anymore. So the fellas then had to go more underground.
Well, I came in there in June of 1985, and there was cocaine and steroids were abundant. And I can truthfully say that I've never smoked a cigarette, marijuana, or tobacco. I've never taken a drug, aspirin or otherwise, up until February of 1989, when I got the gimmick as the genius, and I got about a month off. I got on Decadurabolin, and then when I came to the my first shot, I took my shirt off, and I'd been in the sunbed, and took my shirt off, oiled up, and everybody said, "Holy, what the hell happened to you?" And never mind, we know what happened. Whoa! And everybody said, "Look at Lanny's muscles." And everybody came in the room, and trust me, we had the warlord and barbarian flipping over me, and that's like ridiculous because...
Not to mention the sexual aspects of the steroid.
The sexual aspects? Well, but what happened was, after the Hulk Hogan match was was Halloween of 1989, I realized that I had gone to the very top, and I was not going to live there. I was just going to, like Monopoly game, in jail or just visiting. I was just visiting. And I took a shower, looked down at myself, and I saw my testicular atrophy. And I thought to myself, it might be a good idea to cut my losses right now. And I pulled out that needle, and within 2 months, my muscles were all gone.
And was WWE doing steroid testing at that time at all?
No.
Because you mentioned, I've seen you mention in previous interviews that you think it's possible that Shamrock could have been on something during your...
Possible? Only reason I laugh about that, I mean, just, there's no possibility whatsoever. I mean, I've been involved in athletics my entire life. I know what a man and a woman can build naturally, and I know what they can build unnaturally. If you just look at the world of bodybuilding, you look at natural bodybuilders and you look at professional level bodybuilders. These natural bodybuilders look like 98-pound weaklings compared to these professional level bodybuilders.
We did TV in Allentown, Pennsylvania every 3 weeks. They had a doctor there that would give you any steroid you want. I mean, he carried it. You didn't know prescription, nothing. He had a big bag. Anybody want this? Just like this. Just like this, yeah. I think that doctor got in trouble back with Hogan then.
Yeah, in the early 90s.
Yeah, he got in trouble. But they did it right there in the dressing room. Everything was done in the dressing room.
Someone wanted me to ask you, you don't have to answer this, but what was the best steroid cycle you ever did? Because you know...
I never did nothing but Dianaballs.
Dianaballs, okay.
That's all I did. I didn't like injectables. I always took the pills because I started with, I took what they call Dianaballs. And I would take... the first week I take 1 a day. The second week I take 2 a day. The third week 3 a day. And then the fourth week I take 4 a day. And I take 4 a day for 2 weeks. And then I stop.
The steroids at the time early in my career, I took them a little bit in the off season of football, not in season. And then in my wrestling career, I actually would go on a 8 or 12 week cycle, then go off for 8 or 12 weeks. I was, contrary to popular opinion, I had a good foundation of football and powerlifting and working out, and I always had kind of a from high school on, I was kind of known, my calling card was my physique, so a lot of that was genetics. So I would, back in that day, it was so common back then that when I started taking the PEDs, they weren't even a classified substance really at the time.
Didn't start till 1990 or so.
Yeah, so we were looked at as a strength athlete, as like a training supplement. But my agent, getting back to Tom Haney, and my background with Don Reinhardt, a world-class powerlifter, they always mentored me to do, if you're going to do it, get your blood work done, make sure you cycle on, cycle off. So I was a user of PEDs, and looking back now, because of did you abuse steroids? Well, if you take it, any illicit drug, I look at it, there's a potential abuse. But if there was a way back then to monitor it, I did do that. So that's kind of was my experience. Towards the end of my career, I switched over to basic, what you would term now, the last 4 or 5 years of my wrestling, which was, many people thought where I really got leaner and maybe had my best look. I was on what you would call an anti-aging type supplementation, PED, which a lot of the baseball players started doing, and football players. Back then, in the late 90s, a little bit of growth hormone, like basically anti-aging amount, even though I wasn't that old then. You take a little bit of growth hormone, a little bit of testosterone, that was it.
Keep on trying, don't give up. That's the only advice I gave him, as a keep on trying and don't give up. And so, sure enough, obviously, he became Hulk Hogan.
So he had already been taking steroids before he ever got into the pro wrestling?
Oh, he told me he'd been taking steroids for 1 full year at the time I met him. And I had been taking steroids for 5 years before I started wrestling in mid-60s. So there was nothing wrong with that. The people that have died from complications of steroid use and other drug use in pro wrestling is almost beyond belief. It's almost beyond belief. So many drug-related deaths in pro wrestling, for it to have ended up like this, it's tragic.
So So for the people that claim that this is all just because you've started taking steroids, it's really not. It's
no, I take tests. I mean, I'm prescribed tests because I'm 55, but that in and of itself is not it. I wish it was. I wish that the common misconception is that you could just take a magic pill and then all of a sudden you could, like on TV, suddenly go like this. You can't. You've got to actually put in the work. And I train differently, I eat differently, and I train harder than I've ever done before. And I enjoy it because it's a different way of training. And that's what's really led to the development. Years before, I had taken testosterone for a very short time because I had suffered from, and I don't really talk about it in public, but I had suffered from 2 strokes from a head injury, and I had atrophy down the entire side of my body, and I told the doctor, I said, what can I do to help that? He said, well, they'll probably prescribe you steroids. So I went to the doctor, they refused to do it, so I started to self-medicate to try to help to bring that part of me back. I never had that kind of development because I didn't do a lot of compound movements, didn't utilize my lower body, didn't train the way I train now. And that, regardless of what people might think, is really what has caused the change, is the fact that I train completely different than what I've ever done before. And I utilize my legs more than I have ever done.